your spouses. They're not growing.
Never. If they are not growing because...
No!
Hey y'all, welcome back to your Breakfast Today channel. I am Tonisha, and as promised, I have brought back the lovely Aine McCullough because we have so many more things we need to talk about. And we only, did not even a tip of the iceberg last time. And so this time we're just gonna talk randomly, random things, get lots of opinions and lots of dialogue going. And so the first thing we are going to talk about is, you talked about being a boss as part of your introduction. And so hold on to that. Want to also mention this little clip I showed you from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Yandy and Mendeecees. And so we know the story, right? Mendeecees had to do a bid. Yandy had to pick up the slack, and so she took care of Lil Mendeecees, and I don't know the full story, but that's the premise, right? So then he got out, resumed his place, and now as we watch the show unfold, right, she's a boss lady, she's making it happen, she's got these businesses, she's a mom, she's a wife, she's all of these things. But in the clip, and I'll link that here, she talks about how the roles have changed, right? So he's back.
Was he a boss before he left?
I have no idea.
Okay.
So maybe it was a different kind of bosshood. So the shop, in Atlanta and all the other ventures that she's doing. But also, and I don't know if this was the same time frame, she was trying to give her eggs to her cousin sister, and she was also like hinting about...
She had other kids?
She has kids. She was trying to give her egg to her cousin, and Mendeecees was like, heck no. But it didn't end up working, but she did it anyway, so I was getting the hormones.
He was telling her she couldn't do something with her egg?
Okay, yes. Okay, so
I'm just trying to get the pieces.
But let's start at the very beginning of, she has lived a life 10 plus years.
Oh, wow.
Without, one of the points that he's making is like, now that I'm back, I feel like I've come back to a business relationship. And so I guess one of the questions or your thoughts about that notion, right? Of like roles in a relationship, timing.
I always feel like I'm going to get met with contention when I discuss marriage.
Yes.
I am married. I've been married forever.
Yes, same.
But I think every marriage is as unique as a fingerprint. I think there is no two marriages alike. I don't think that there are rules that apply to all, like other than just marriage itself.
Okay.
Meaning that you are locked to this person. Aside from that, make up what you're going to make up within the confines of your marriage.
However,
but that's my opinion on marriage, because I don't think it's fair for a married person to tell another married person that's what they should be doing unsolicited. I think marriages are unique. I'll just leave it at that, because it's hard to advise if you're not in that marriage. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about marriage being a business.
She talks about, I had to carry the brunt of the relationship, right? And I had to put my dreams on pause. And so now that I'm back, I feel like you're minimizing the hard work that I had to do.
That happens all the time. And it's probably only a conversation because it's the man saying that. I'm coming back, this feels transactional, or this feels like a business. I want one thing. I kind of have to sit back and wait for that thing, and that's typical of women. There's a lot of women that had to wait for their spouse to achieve a certain level of success for them to be able to then chase their dreams or do some of the things they want to do. That's par for the course. I think that is what it is. If she was made to do all these things and carry all of these responsibilities, that's her norm now. And I don't know how long it had been, but if he comes back into the marriage and wants to assume a role, that doesn't just happen overnight.
Should she be willing to help him or be willing to give that kind of thing up, right? Like, because my whole thing is...
He doesn't want her to do stuff just because?
Well, that's... I'm not putting no words in Mendeecees' mouth. I'm just saying, her independence...
Is it threatening?
Seems to be threatening to the relationship because there are roles that are established. I want you to be more involved with the parenting. I want you to be more involved with the household. So just trying to figure out what the balance is there.
We need to both do that.
Yes.
The things that we share are this marriage and these children and this household. We don't share our jobs. We don't share our careers. Sometimes we share our friends. A lot of times we don't. The things that we don't share, we don't share.
Okay.
The things that we own together, that we created together, are the burden of both of us.
Yes, agree 100%. So do you then think that pursuit of her own dreams outside of the shared,
maybe,
right? Because it's like,
if it comes at the expense of these children or what you've agreed to have together, then maybe it's not time.
But what if the circumstances were such that we agreed on this is the way we will live? Tragedy struck. I had to change my agreements, and in that time, I discovered I like myself and I want to
That's rough.
do something else other than what we agreed.
Then you're not married anymore.
But we are still married.
Well, don't be.
But it's just not that easy.
No.
So then where does that leave us?
It leaves you needing to make a decision of whether or not you're going to stay married. Because if what you want to pursue outside of the marriage is more important to you than the marriage itself, then that's what you need to go do. Because you're not going to ever come to an agreement if who she is as a person now and like her aspirations and who she's going to be in pursuing anything is going to threaten what they have built in their marriage, and she's not going to change, and he wants to keep the marriage, then that's a different story altogether.
So then, but then are his desires not as important to say, I went into this with the expectation of you giving this to me because you said you could, and I don't necessarily want to go out and pursue someone else. I want to make this work in the agreement that we established, but also I need you to scale back a little bit, boo, and get your tail in this house because you be running these streets too much. You know what I'm saying? And then if her desires are so disaligned,
is it who she is as a person, or is it
she discovered who she could be? I think it was just like, oh, I'm going to try these things out.
I think marriage is agreeing to the evolution of who your partner is going to become, who they're going to be,
with no foresight.
But that has to be reciprocated. If both of you are agreeing to evolve with each other, bend and mold so that you fit and help and support the other person, I don't think you run into that as quickly as if you just say, you got to accept me however I am, right? Because, I mean, I'm not the same person I was when I got married 15 years ago, but I was committed to the marriage, not necessarily to that person, because I knew that he would change.
Okay.
But I'm not going to forgo this marriage. Whoever you end up being 20, 30 years from now, that's who I'm married to.
Yeah.
There's no way that you stay the same person after a day, let alone 20, 30 years. Now, if you wake up one day and you don't want to be committed to this marriage anymore, then that's who I married. And then you're no longer committed to the marriage. So we're no longer married. Like you have now walked away from that thing that we agreed to have.
So what then do we do when you can't separate the two because you're literally married to this person who is the one you said is not divorceable, who you have committed your life to, and they come with the baggage that they come with.
The marriage is the agreement. So if you're the type of person that's like, I want to be married, I want to have this thing, I want to have this marriage, and I'm going to be committed to marriage, well, then the person doesn't even matter anymore. You're just like, oh, I can plug and play anybody into this. And there's a lot of people that do that. They have this idea of what their life should look like, how they will play their role in society. Marriage is a part of that, so I need to find someone to be married to. Whereas that makes me want to throw up, even thinking that way. I believe that you meet a person, you meet your person, right? And because of who that person is, you put marriage as the option.
I agree with that to the degree that, okay, we decided we would be committed to this thing. And along the way, you evolved into someone with these pursuits that I didn't know.
Get to know.
So the roles, so the responsibility then is just simply...
It's both parties' responsibility.
What if your pursuits, right? Because then if I deny your pursuits, then I'm not allowing you to grow. But also, I need you to take care of these kids, right? And that may mean that some of the things that you want to do go left undone, and perhaps.
That's fair. That's fair to ask that of your partner, to be a partner. If who you are evolving into is someone who does not want to be committed to this marriage, then I have to accept that that's who you are. If you're just doing things that are changing you, that's fine, but you don't change to the point of then neglecting this family. You have to be discussing what this looks like. Like, I drive my husband crazy because I'm like, all right, let's just think about 5 years from now, or what do you envision? Like, let's make sure that we have the same picture right now. What does this look like 10 years from now? All right, if I go do this thing in 6 months, what does that look like for us? Because I want to know where your head's at. Because if you're thinking one thing and I'm thinking something else,
I always say that's to Sam.
What are we doing?
Tell me how you came to that conclusion, because I need to know your thought process, because we clearly are on two different wavelengths. My dude, if you have drawn this conclusion about whatever it is. So that is a good point.
It's the source of all of our arguments.
What?
Because we'll be arguing about two completely different things. Like, I'll say something completely else was heard. Now you arguing to that, and that's not even what I was saying.
That's not what I was talking about at all. And that wavelength is an interesting one in marriage, because I feel like you're trying to always cross the waves. Like, what are you trying to do exactly? Because men think differently
they do
than we do. We just don't think the same. And so that's why I talk about the Yandy and Mendices, because I just wonder if her pursuit, I guess, disavows what people think about marriage.
Your partner is an extension of yourself. So if my arm decides that now it wants to operate as a foot, then we're gonna run into issues. You can be an arm with tattoos, you can be a hairy arm, you can be an arm with nails, you can be a stiff arm, you can be a loose arm, you can have strong muscles, but you're gonna be an arm at the end of the day. You're not a foot, and I'm not gonna cut you off because you might die. You're on the same team. You're committed to this marriage, this body. Now you guys are joined.
And so you're saying Yandy's pursuit, for all intents and purposes, is just her tattooing her arm? Or
ideally, she's doing these things to better herself, things that she feels like are going to be for the better of her marriage. If she's doing it because this is just what she feels like now, and she's a different person to the point where she's abandoning her marriage and she's a different person altogether because she was single for so long while he was away. Like, maybe he has to court her back. Maybe they have to grow an arm back. If he was gone, you amputated your arm for however many years he was gone. So now she's learned how to live with one arm.
Yes.
Now your arm came back. and it wants to reattach. I don't need you anymore.
Yeah, because I learned how to live
That
without
sucks.
you. So then what do you say to the person who feels like, in the instance of the Tia and Corey situation where she's dubbed her divorce as a graduation, I've grown too much, or I've grown more than I anticipated. Perhaps you're not coming alongside in my growth. Have I outgrown this marriage, this situation?
You are growing with them. You're evolving with them. Everything you are doing is with that person. They're committed to this institution of marriage. You are too. So that means everything you do, every major life decision, every choice, it is with that person. If that person starts to change and evolve in a way that then threatens the marriage itself, then I think that's the only time where you really have to look at the person as, someone outside of the marriage. That's when you come to the table and you're looking at, okay, does this marriage now end? Because you're evolving in a way, your lifestyle is now lending you and not me to ending this marriage. Now you wild. You smoke crack now. We didn't used to do that.
Not crack.
You know what I'm saying?
Sorry.
Now you getting arrested every Thursday.
Yeah.
And I gotta come bail you out. We don't have any money anymore. You are threatening this marriage.
Yeah.
So now the marriage has to end.
But not you just decided you didn't want to be a housewife
That's
anymore
selfish.
and you wanted to pursue other things.
So I think what happens when you're looking at divorce as a graduation is that now you are growing into who you actually are, and you realize that, I didn't really actually want to be married, which
Yes.
fair.
But say that.
What you think marriage is may change. Maybe you got married for the wrong reasons. Maybe you got married for all the right reasons, and you really did evolve into someone who then did not want to be in that marriage. Can you not bring your spouse along? Like, I would hope and pray that if I am now evolved into this person with different views or different understanding of our core beliefs, that my husband is also evolving in that same way. Like, God forbid, okay, so perfect example. I got married at 20 something. I'm not that anymore. If I knew me then, what a heathen. Like, I would not, I probably would take no advice from the me now. I would probably think all types of crazy different things about the person I am now.
Yeah, of course.
My husband has evolved in the same way though. So now if he had not, maybe we're not married.
Yeah.
Because who I am now would threaten the marriage from 2000
Like way back.
Yeah.
And I think to that point in terms of growth, because my whole thing is I'm not going to be with somebody who's enacting their traumas upon me, right? Like, you need to just do your work, and then we can see, and then we can take those steps together. Simply because I feel like I'm doing my work. And I think that's...
Do you leave somebody for that? Like, if you guys get married and then you become enlightened and you do all of your own work and your spouse does not, do you leave them?
Not right away. But if they don't come along, absolutely, because... And I'm not even like a divorce or anything like that, right?
Leave your spouses! They're not growing.
Never. If they are not growing, because...
No!
If they are enacting their traumas upon you,
yes,
and because we enact our traumas upon each other, right? Like, you know what you know at the time, and then you grow, right? When I was a child, I spake as a child. But so I'm not saying that's what, to your point about 5 years, right? Like, we was here 5 years ago. In 5 years, are you still unhealed in that particular area that I'm asking you to get healed? And I'm not saying that healing is immediate and it's not, right? Like, but are you taking steps in the direction that says I am willing to sacrificially get away from myself in a way that may be hindering the growth of our marriage as a unit? So you're saying no.
I'm marriage is final.
Yes. Oh, yes. I do want to make that point.
I just feel like people shouldn't get married. I think.
See that, but then that's
I think that people should wait a long time, because who you love and that person that you're falling in love with or building in love with may change.
And you have to know that they will change. It's not a may, right? Like you change with.
They're gonna change.
Every single day, like children, right? They go to sleep, they wake up 2 inches taller, right? We're always changing, always evolving, always growing. And so would you say that that's one of the key factors, having that understanding like at the forefront of your mind for those out there who may be desiring to be married? And I will probably say why. And I'll say
that person's character traits are going to change. Their personality is going to change. Their likes, their desires, their quirks, things are going to change. Their soul's not going to change. Their spirit, is going to stay the same. Their essence of who they are won't change, and that's who you are in love with, and that's who you are committing to. So when you bring marriage as your commitment and the thing that's going to tie you to someone, you have to know, like, yeah, I want it with this particular person. And your security is the fact that they too are committed to the marriage. So when I say like you're committed to the marriage, not necessarily the person, it's because you are trusting in the fact that you have someone that is agreeing to this same thing as you. That's what's binding you all together. The agreement of marriage. The agreement. Binding yourself to that person may not necessarily work, because that person today may be someone different later on.
Yeah. So I think that's healthy to hold on to, especially because everything changes. The economy, right? the nature of the way that we do business, how much we get paid, etc. Like, because of everything and all those factors are always fluctuating, that marriage covenant, that marriage agreement can be what grounds you too in times of everything outside of this marriage may be in calamity or in disarray. But because we have an anchor point and we've agreed to growing together, I think that that's a good leveling point. Okay, thank you for that. That's just one of the many things we're going to be talking about, y'all. We're just going to be talking because I need somebody to talk to, because I have all of these thoughts in my brain. And she's here to talk to me.
As do I. You don't make me feel like I'm crazy.
Exactly. And that's exactly why
I don't typically say the things that most do.
And I know, and I wanted to pull that out because I feel like we have some oddities that are similar that don't necessarily agree with the status quo, that also are valuable to the status quo. All right. That's all we got for you today, folks. I'm Tonisha.